Hi everyone, today we're going to be looking at the BRX PLC HTTP JSON instructions. And up on my screen you'll see that we have Open Weather Map website, and that's where we're going to be retrieving our information from for our weather in Atlanta. So in that site what you'll find is that we have the parameters and response parameters that we can actually pick out and see. In our case here, you can see the coordinate, we can see weather base main, which is one of the things we'll pick up, and wind. So we'll pick up the temperature, pressure, humidity, minimum temperature, maximum temperature, and then we'll pick up the wind speed and degrees. So detailed information contained in the video can be found at accautomation.ca. A link has been put in the description below. And if you have not watched the other videos yet, there will be links in the description below that will start you on video 1. There will also be links to the rest of the videos in the series as well. So the website itself will contain the information that we need for JSON, which stands for JavaScript Object Notation. And what you'll see is that if we put together our JavaScript, or our URL, Universal Resource Locator, you will actually see our information coming back in this format. And it's easy to read this in plain English, and we can see that we can actually pick out, say, humidity. Currently right now we're at 88%. The temperature minimum is 68, maximum is 73.4, and our current temperature is 71.19. Now this is easy to read, however we can look at a parser, and we have an online parser. So what we'll do is just copy this information, and then we'll go to the parser, and then we can paste it in here. And when we do, it'll parse this information out for us so that we can actually view that information in a little more legible situation. So we can show the JavaScript types. So you see arrays, whether they're numbers or strings. And how we do this is we look at the field index of the actual layer. So if we look at coordinate, this would be 0. The weather would be 1. So 0, 1, 2, and then main would be 3. Then you have visibility is 4. Wind is 5, etc. All the way up to, you'll see that we can see the clouds, we can see the DT, we can see systems. That gives you the country, sunrise, sunset. We can also go time zone and the name, which is Atlanta in the US that we're actually looking at, and we're looking at degrees Fahrenheit. And we can tell that by flipping back to our URL. You'll actually see in that we have our weather, we have Atlanta in the US, and we have the units as imperial. And then we have our app ID, which is located right here. Now this is an example of the app ID, and you can sign up on the website and you can get it for 60 for free, 60 times an hour, or you can subscribe to that and get them even more often. So that is the online parser. It's very good to actually grab that information, know how it's going to be held. Now for more information on JSON, we can actually look at w3schools.com. And again, we said JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation and exchanging data. So actually this is all part of the Internet of Things. And one other thing that we may want to do is find out the size of actually the piece of data that we're going to bring back. So again, we'll just paste that in here, and we can see that it's 461 bytes of information. So now that we have all of that information, we can go to our PLC program. So here I'm using the simulator, but this is the Do-More designer software. This is the release 2.5.2, which was done in April 22nd of 2019, and it contains the instructions that we need in order to grab information from a website into our PLC. And the two instructions that we have that are new that they've added are HTTPCMD and JSONPARSE. So we'll actually use those two elements to actually bring in this weather information for us. So here we saw that on the website, it brought back this information here, which gives me all of those 461 bytes. And if we look at our first instruction here, we can double click it, and what you'll see is that we've set up a TCP client. It's just a name. Then we said we established the TCP connection to openweathermap.org, and we use the SSL/TLS, which basically means that it's using the HTTPS for secure site. And then we'll use by the HTTP request was going to be the GET, and our GET is everything after that address, or the website address. So this is all of our parameters that we have to get that information. Then our response code, we'll put in D0. Our response full status text line, SSL1, SS1, and response header. Then our response body, we're going to actually put that in a numeric data buffer, and we create a buffer called HTTPCMD buffer, and we put 1,000 bytes of information. And that's how we determined that when we had our byte size on that website, it grabbed and says 461. So I've added a little bit for expansion capabilities, and the number of bytes received, we put it into D1 memory. Now, if this instruction is successful, we turn on bit C0, and if it's an error, we put on C1. So that is all we need to do. Let's just close that down, and you see that I have input X0 will actually activate this instruction. This marking right here means that we're actually going to use it on the rising edge of the input. So when that goes on the rising edge, we actually bring our value back in. So if we do that, and let's again call up our simulator, and it's on D0 here, or X0, we'll turn that on. And what it will do is actually bring back all these parameters for me, and actually gives me a message here and an error if it happened. So let's turn that back off. Let's do that again, and you'll see that it's doing some handshaking, accepts some encoding, and it grabs the information and then gives me a message saying everything's fine. So there's our OK. And then what we do is we will look back at the program here, and we have this message here that we can kind of see here. But if we go to debug, we can look at new memory, and then we'll go down to the JSON buffer, command buffer. We'll hit OK, and we'll review the entire block. And we do that, it'll actually come up similar to this. We'll expand that out a little bit, and we'll say we have 30 columns, and we'll bring that back in ASCII. So here is our information that we just brought back from our website. Now, that's just the raw data. So now what we have to do is we will actually move that aside, and we will then look at how do we get that information out. So the next instruction we're going to look at is JSONPARSE field. So what happens is it returns the parameters from field index number 3 into another buffer for us. So that's what JSONPARSE does. And if we look at this, we'll call this up, double click it, and we take our input block data, which is our CTTP command buffer, and number of bytes was the bytes that came back from that instruction, which is from D1, and then our field index will be number 3, and that's how we get from our online JSON parser to determine where that layer is, or that field index. Then what we do is we say, bring back our text. We're going to create another byte buffer, and this is JSONPARSE 3, and we create a buffer size of 500. And number of bytes parsed we'll put in D10, and the return results we'll put in D11. So we'll close that down, and that's what it does. And here is my input, and my input is coming from C0. So on the leading edge, we're going to actually do this. And let me just move that over a little bit. So when we bring in that information, then it brings it into our parse. So what happens is, again, let's look at our debug, new memory view, JSONPARSE 3, and again, let's change that to 30 and ASCII, and this brings in my temperature, my pressure, my humidity, my min, and my max temperature. So that is what that will do. So we'll just move that off the screen, and then finally what we'll do is, once we have the raw data there, we'll actually use the JSONPARSE again to actually pull out the data. So we take our resulting word, and we take a look and make sure that it's equal to 1, and if it is, then we fire off this JSONPARSE. And again, what we do is we say, okay, our JSONPARSE comes from a numeric data block, which is JSONPARSE 3. The number of bytes received was data D10, which tells us how much we actually returned. It says, now, instead of looking at a field index, we actually look up the value of the name. In this case here, we want temperature. And the temperature came from, again, our information that we pulled back. And then it says, if we found the text where we're going to put it, we'll put it SL0. So that'll give us our temperature. And a result will go into D15. Right. So again, we're looking for temperature out of our response that we had from our JSONPARSE. And here is the information again. So you see here as our name is temp. So it should bring back the 69.3. Move that aside. And what you'll see is here on SL0, which is where our result comes in, again, it's 69.3, which is exactly what we expected. Now, again, we do the same thing for our pressure. In this case here, we're using the same data because it's coming from the same level. And we're looking for pressure, and it comes back at 1021. And then we look at humidity. It comes back, humidity right here, come back at 83. So again, here's my temperature, pressure, humidity. Next, we'll have our temperature minimum, which is SL3, 66. And then we'll have our temperature maximum right here, which is 72. So next what we'll do is take a look at the wind speed. So once again, we go back to our main HTTP buffer, and we're actually looking at it. And in this case here, what we're looking for is field index number 5 now. And that brings back our information on our wind speed and direction. So close that down. And again, if we have a HTTP command successful, we actually look at the leading edge, and then we grab this information for our JSONPARSE data block. Again, we'll look at view, new memory, and we'll look at JSONPARSE 5. And we'll expand this out. We'll set it for 30, and again, our ASCII. And you can see here, our information coming back is actually speed, 3.02, and our degrees, 241. All right, so let's just move that aside. So here, we bring back the information. Now once we have the information, we again use JParse and we look for speed, and it brings back 3.02 into our output, SL5, right there. And then we look at our wind direction, and our wind direction, we look at degree, and it's going back in SL6, which is right here, and the value is 241.977 degrees. Now, when an error occurs, what we will do is we will look at the leading edge, and then what we do is we zero out the ranges themselves to make sure that we don't have any extra variables that we don't want and our information is still correct. And then we will reset both our done or our complete and our error flags. So that is our entire program, and typically we can keep this into a sub directory, and then when we need the information we can automatically update it, or we can have it on a timer, so we look at the temperature every 5 minutes or every minute or every hour, whatever our application needs for that information. So let's take a look at that again, and we'll look up our information here. I'll just keep it onto the side of the screen here so we can actually watch our elements that are right here. And as I hit the update, I'll turn on X0 now. It actually looks at the information, comes back, and then what you see is our information then gets updated right here. Let's zero that out. And we can zero that out by hitting X1. And you see now we have an empty strings. Now we'll hit X0 again, bring back the information. And there's our current temperature and all of the other parameters that we just pulled out of off the internet. Now if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button below. If you have any questions about the video, please leave a comment below and I'll do my best to answer it. If you want more information about us, or you want to get our free ebooks on numbering systems or robust data logging, please click on the link in the description below to get it. A new video is put out every Monday, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you get more videos like this in the future. Remember to click the bell beside your subscription in order to actually receive those notifications. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.